Knicks and Bruises, we back. Andy, Tony Crow, your blackest time. What's going on, Andy?
Salute,
Thanks,
salute.
thanks for joining.
No problem. It's always a pleasure with you, Tone. So happy to be
Appreciate it.
on.
So, a couple of things I wanted to talk about was potential awards the Knicks can win this year. Um, and not saying they're gonna win them, but maybe they're just in the conversation for them. Can we get some All Stars? Maybe more than one. Maybe we could get two All Stars. Maybe three if we're winning more than expected. You know, Defensive Player of the Year. Can win Tibbs win back to back Coach of the Year? Can Julius win back to back?
Most
Back
improved.
Most improved. That's never been done. Um, so let's talk about it. Let's see what we come up with. The Queen's gonna join us in a little bit, so I'm interested to see what her take is gonna be. But I'll let you start off with Derrick Rose. That you had mentioned something
Yeah,
on Sim's channel.
yeah.
Shout out to Sim.
Yeah. Shout out to Sim to the Podfather. Listen, I think DRose might have the biggest chance because I would say Julius would have the biggest chance, but he had the most improved, and he improved by a lot. I'm not saying that he reached his potential, but for him to make that kind of a step, he would be bro he would make the top 10 in the NBA probably conversation. So I would be happy for that. I would be ecstatic if that happened. But I think the biggest chances of a guy that getting an whole NBA award, I think it's going to be D Rose for the six man award, because I see him being off the bench in Tibbs rotation. So having Kemba, Evan Fournier, RJ, Julius, and depends who, probably Mitch in the starting lineup. I think D Rose will definitely be the sixth man for the Knicks, and even last season he finished, I think, third. Behind Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson. So that was a great three to be picked from the whole NBA. And like you said, if we're gonna be overachieving like last season, which for this season it will be probably top four in the East, I think we really have a chance to have multiple awards.
Awards.
Yeah. So
I,
with just starting with a six-man award, I wouldn't be surprised if Julius had the All-Star game, nominee. If Kemba had was in the situation that he would be mentioned. Never know about RJ, about Evan
mhm.
Fournier. Those guys can also be, you never know who's gonna pan out this season. So
I, I, I
we might
I
have a
agree.
couple of them.
I agree 100%, man. Like, sky's the limit. I want to shout out the chat, of course. Phase One, DSJ. I see you, Gerald McKeever. Shout out to you. Who else we got in here? Yeah, that's it right now. But shout out to the chat, no doubt. I agree, man. Derrick Rose, six man a year. He was in the conversation this past season. He had some votes. He he was right there, and you could argue he should have won it. So I definitely think he's probably high probability of winning the award. Definitely in the conversation. Um, what else we got? Well, let me touch on that Julius Randle thing. I agree. I don't think it's ever been done where a player's won most improved
Yeah, 2 years in a row,
twice,
right?
let alone 2 years in a row. So if you could do that as a player, you got to be up there in the MVP conversation as well. You know what I mean? Especially the leap he made last year, especially considering he had votes at MVP last year. So that's only going to put you closer into that conversation. So, I'll combine those two topics into one. Um, if by chance he can get most improved again, or be second in most improved again, or something in that realm, how close do you think that will put him in the MVP conversation? Is it not? Does that make him a lock for MVP? A top three in MVP
Listen,
consideration?
maybe even not top three, but if he would be considered again one of the most improved players, I think he makes top 10 in the NBA. Overall, no, it doesn't matter position or whatever. And if you're in that top 10 conversation, I think, MVP is like, you got to really have a great situation with your team and with everything around. So, he might be top five, even if we're going to be playing great as a team. But then again, I think it's going to be more of a team thing for the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks than an individual one man show like it was last year. So, only, like I said, only, I think award that we probably would get is the DRose 6-man award. But like you mentioned on Sim's show, maybe the guy that nobody's thinking about might be Mitch Robinson with that defensive player of the year. Listen, with this kind of cast, supporting cast that he will have running with him in the starting lineup, you never know. He might be only, needed to play defense, block shots, get those steals, cut those passing lanes, disrupt the offense in the key, and keating get those blocks and everything. And if he's not going to improve on the offensive end, for me it's not going to be that big of a situation. If he's going to be staying healthy and playing major minutes, I think that's going to be awesome for him, and he really might be in that conversation.
Yeah, I think I said it. I want to say his rookie year because I was super high on Mitchell Robinson, and I was saying, if he never improves offensively and only keeps his skill set of what he does and just continues to grow defensively, I said he would be, one of the top tier centers, um,
Yeah.
throughout the league. Um, and I still stand by that because with his athleticism and his recent growth and strength and things in that area, um, he's gonna get 10 rebounds. You know what I mean? He's gonna get 10 points just from putbacks and lobs and things of that nature. So even if he doesn't develop offensively, I agree. If he just focuses on defense and the way he's able to defend the perimeter and get back down in the post and defend the post and
Yeah.
move
And
his
anchor,
feet.
just anchor the
Yeah,
defense as a
yeah. I,
total.
I think if he focuses on that, sky's the limit. I've always talked about him blocking them 3-pointers like that for a center position to block 3-pointers from any other position on the opposing side. That's a great talent. So I think he might be. I think he might have just as much of a chance as DRose winning 6-man of winning Defensive Player of the Year. Um, if he's healthy, obviously, if
Yeah.
he remains on the floor, but that's going to be the key. Um, moving on. All star potential
Well,
all stars.
yeah, for potential all stars, as I see it, it would have to be the rest of the starting lineup for the Knicks, and it goes from top to bottom basically. Kemba can pan out this season. Evan Fournier can light it up. We hope that RJ is gonna make that, even if it's a small step, right? With all of these guys around now and his numbers last season and his development, he also may reach the all-star game. Julius, that's probably the top pick for the Knicks. But thinking about the way that you can get to an all-star, right? It's by vote. So you can't be surprised, bro. Us Knicks fans, we can just vote the whole starting five, and or just swap in, instead of Mitch, just put in DRose there, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if DRose had the most votes because he's loved around the league by every basically fan base. I don't think he has like couple of fans that dislike him in the whole NBA fan base, right? Meanwhile, Kemba, Evan Fournier, they might have tickled, and rubbed some people the wrong way. Meanwhile, D Rose, he's like a saint in this league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he took the most votes from any Knicks player to get to that All-Star game.
Interesting. I agree too. But I think starting lineup, top to bottom, and you could definitely throw D Rose in that conversation. I mean, the man is loved in Chicago alone. You know what I mean? And then you talk about the love he'll get from the Knicks fans, the love from just being a successful comeback story. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, I want you to mention, what you mentioned earlier about that. We'll save that for a minute. But yeah, I think top to bottom, any one of these guys could potentially do it. Mitch might be on the lower scale of that, but we've seen defensive players get rewarded with all star
Yeah.
nods. We've seen Gobert get an all-star nod being just a defender. So yeah, I agree 100%. If I'm looking for who I would want the most there, obviously Randle being back-to-back all-stars, solidifying himself 100%. I would want that. Kemba, the comeback and success from being an all-star, kind of going through the injuries and all that. I would definitely love to see Kemba being an all-star. I think that's a high probability if he's healthy. He's on a bigger stage than ever before in the NBA, and the kid got talent when he's healthy. So and then RJ, just to stretch this out a little bit, I think if RJ can get into that most improved player conversation, that might get him into that all-star nod as well. So, double whammy right there. I think, if he takes the necessary step in the right direction, takes a step up defensively and maybe hones in on that, and the fact that he's going to get easier shots, because I think he's going to be that guy that's left open more likely than
Yeah,
Fournier,
definitely.
more likely than Randle, more likely than Walker. And obviously Mitch in that dunker spot, you're not going to really want to leave him open too much. So I think he's going to have that opportunity for his shooting percentage to skyrocket. He may get less shots, but be 10 points more efficient, you know, and and still average the same amount of points, maybe even more. So yeah, if he could get in that most improved conversation, I think that's going to be a all-star nod for him right off the jump. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's like you said, all of these guys can make it. For me, I think, like you said, it's going to be Julius at the one. If it's going to be about playing style and that thing, I think Julius will be probably the most rewarding guy to get into that all-star game. But I wouldn't, cross out Kemba just for the playing thing. If he's gonna be healthy, I think he can manage to make it. Of course, it's always, the team record thing and stuff like that. Do we know even where the game is gonna be played this year? The All Star game? It's gonna be Atlanta? No, it was Atlanta last year, right? It's gonna be Indiana, maybe something like that.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. My birds are having a field day. Yeah, I believe it is in Indiana for some
Yeah,
reason, but
Indiana.
I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not 100% sure. Again, shout out to the chat, all the new guys that jumped in: Sam Hoyt, Man Child. Let's see if I miss anybody. Stafford Don, G Man, I see you. Salute guys, shout out. It'll be like it's time. Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, let's talk about Fournier, All Star. You think he could? That might be the only conversation he's in for. I don't see a necessary most improved from him.
Yeah.
Um, All Star. I mean, it's possible it's gonna be tough at that two spot or that wing spot, that guard spot. It depends on where they play him too. You know what I mean? If he's gonna be considered a guard or a wing, is it guard wing big or is it just wing big?
I think it guards, wings. Yeah. I think it guards and bigs, and two guards and three wing bigs, something like that.
Mm.
So yeah,
So
but Tony, I think I wouldn't rule out Fournier like from the beginning, because I don't know why. Maybe it's again that I'm based in Europe now, and it's why I have some biased things for these guys here. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Diano saying that this is in Cleveland. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that Evan Fournier, he will be, I can bet that he will be the leading scorer of the Knicks in some games this season. I don't think we can rule out that, listen, Julius is the main guy and he will be the leader of the, on the scoring position. I think, Fournier can really heat up. And if he's going to have like 3, 4, 5 games in a row around 30 points a game, no, I think Julius might not be the main option on the offensive end. Of course, Fournier is a streaky guy, so he can come out for 5 games and then fall back for 5 games. So the average is going to be at the end of the season. But if he would be streaky and hold it up above his current average, which was I don't know, 16 points, whatever, he would be around 20 points. So we would have Julius above like 20 couple, RJ around 20, Kemba around 20, Fournier around 20 couple. That would be awesome. Just out of the starting lineup, we would have like 80, 90 points. And what about the bench? It was still a strong thing for the Knicks. So listen, if that's going to be the case, I think all Knicks fans are going to be happy with any of these guys getting to the to Cleveland for the All-Star game.
yeah, I agree 100%. And you make a good point. I think Randle's offensive numbers are gonna go down this year. I think the key for him this year um is gonna be efficiency, similar to RJ. How well he's shooting from the floor. Um, let's bring those rebound numbers up. You know what I mean? Like, let's focus there. He's a good rebounder. I'm not knocking him on it.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you could try to maybe lead the league in it, you know what I mean? Be in that conversation. Um, do more of the other things because you're not gonna have to be focusing on scoring every play. You know what I mean? Or even creating every play. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna get a lot more easier shots than ever that he ever did on this team, on the Knicks. You know what I mean? He's gonna get a lot easier shots. So exert some of that energy that you're saving offensively, maybe on the defensive end. Bring your blocks up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I agree in that aspect. I wouldn't be surprised if Fournier is a leading scorer. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if Kimba's in the conversation for like leading the league in assists. Um, I think there's a lot of a lot of awards and attributes that could be won this year with this team. Um, let's talk about Coach Tibbs real quick, and can he? What is it gonna take for him to win defense? I'm sorry, Coach of the Year again? In my mind, it's gonna have to be an improvement in the standings, and I don't know if we could do that. But if he gets I don't know if 4 is even going to do it, but if he could get better than 4 seed, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to be a lock again.
Yeah, and listen, I was gonna say the same thing. Mixing up it with Brooklyn and with the Bucks. In that top three, I think that will probably do it. They're gonna say that he had, a point guard this league and an improved roster, right? But then again, what we gotta realize, the Knicks were down so many years that it would be like the most improved coach and the most improved coach again, right? Listen, but the award is given before the playoffs. If we would make a jump in the playoffs and then they would be giving the award, we could still be like fifth seed, and then like if we go to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that would also push it for him. But the awards are given before if I'm correct, before the playoffs. So
I
it would
think
be
they're
have to
giving. I
be.
think they're giving out sometime during the first
Yeah,
round.
during the first round. So they don't count that, those playoff performances. That's why probably he got him, because we stunk out the joint in those 5 games. So yeah, but like we said, top three might do it. If it's a top two, then I think it's a lock. I don't think nobody expects the Knicks to be top two seeded. Hi, Steph,
Hello.
Queen. Yeah, so I think that would be awesome for Tibbs. I don't think he like needs it on his resume or something like that. I think he's already set as a coach, fulfill his career, and just get his playoff run and get that those banners in MSG, and that's going to be everything he needs.
I agree 100%. I think he can care less. Um, but if he wins, if he could win it, and if it happens, I'm sure he'll appreciate it. I'll give you Peace Queen. I'll give you a quick rundown
Peace.
on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
Just as you took your sip, I know how that is. Quick rundown on what we spoke on so far, and you could touch on all the topics if you like. We just talked about what it would take if for Tibbs to win Coach of the Year again, and I think I don't even think the 4th seed would do it. I think he would have to be 3 or obviously better to win that award. Maybe 4th seed with with some outstanding things going on throughout the season.
Like a
Right.
25 winning streak or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
but yeah, ultimately, I'll say 4th seed again or better.
Okay.
Absolutely. Um, I'll let you touch on that, and then I'll give you the rundown on what we spoke on so far.
I mean, I think he would have to finish in the top three. And I think, if the 4th seed gets it, there would have to be like serious um, lead over Atlanta and Miami, right? It's not like you squeaked out and got the 4th seed. It's like you got it and you were like 5 games ahead or 6 games ahead. Other than that, I think he would have to get into the top three.
Okay, agree 100
Yeah.
100%. What was the first thing? Andy led with basically the topic is what awards can the Knicks win this year or be in the conversation for. So
As a
Andy led
team or individually?
both.
Individually. Yeah,
Okay.
both.
So like Andy led with defensive play I'm sorry, 6th man of the year, um Derrick
For
Rose.
DRose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk on it or just agree, because I think he's in
Yeah,
there.
I would agree. I think Burke could also be in the running for that, depending on what he does. I think Mitch could be in running for defensive player of the year, but he would have to have um, a monster year. So he could do that.
We
Julius can make first or second team again. That's possible. I don't think RJ could do most improved, because I just think with just the fire that usually goes with somebody other than Julius that makes a big leap, like in terms of stats. I think Julius, even though his stats wasn't that much better, he took his team to the 4th seed. I'm not sure if RJ would be able to separate himself enough in other people's eyes. It'll probably go to the guy who went from 15 points per game to 22 points per game, right? So I don't know if we have any.
RJ's the snub king.
Yeah, I don't think he could get most improved. And I think Julius goes back to the All-Star team. And I think it's possible we get 2 players this time. I guess it's possible that we get 2 players this time. And I think it would be between Fournier, who I think is going to be huge for the Knicks. I think he's probably going to be our second leading scorer, in my opinion. And I mean, if Kemba's an all-star, the Knicks are in the 3rd seed. That means that he's playing like if he's playing that well to be an all-star, then the Knicks are rocking, So yeah, that's what I have.
It's almost like you was listening.
No, I wasn't. like mine.
Am I wrong, Andy? A couple things we just I brought up that you didn't mention, and so I'm interested on your take, because I don't think it's ever been done before. So, what would it take for Randle to win Most Improved again? And if that is the case, where would that put him in MVP voting? Like,
yeah,
Andy says at least top 5. I say I would have to be at least top 3.
I can't imagine him getting it.
No, we're
yeah. Like in order for him to get it again, like I think he's already solidified himself, right? Usually those awards go to people who are still trying to solidify themselves. But let's just say hypothetically he wasn't a running. We would have to be like in the top 2 or 3 teams. He would have to carry us. It's going to be hard for him to kind of separate himself because you got Fournier, you got Kemba, you got RJ, who I expect to be. I don't know how much of more of a statistical leap he could take, but his offense can definitely become more diversified. We would have to be like a 2nd seed. And then he would have to be the leader, the clear leader of the pack in order to get Most Improved again.
Yeah, I agree. Ultimately, it will be hard for the simple fact that I think his numbers are going to dip because of all the offensive power we have around him. And it's not even just scorers. Both these guys can create. So I think the ball is going to be in his hands less. But again, I repeat it. I think he's gonna have to focus on other things to dominate at. You know what I mean? So can he try to lead the league in rebounds? You know what I mean? Like focus there. Can he exert that energy that he's saving offensively on the defensive end? So bring his blocks, his steals. You know what I mean? All that up. You know what I mean? Focus on efficiency now, because now you're not going to be double teamed as much. You're going to get open looks more than ever before in your Knicks career, and things of that nature. And I think ultimately the same can be said for RJ. I think he's going to be the guy that they leave open this year, because you're not going to leave Mitch in the dunking spot open. You're not, whoever has the ball, you're not going to leave Randle, Walker, or Fournier open. So that leaves RJ is going to have the most open looks of, I think, his Knicks career. So if he can just focus on efficiency, you know what I mean? He may get less shots, but efficiency and defense and all the other nuances of the game, I think that's going to be those key elements, for us to win and adjust to the new players. So
I don't think there's going to be a lot of double teaming though. But go ahead. Sorry, I thought you
double teaming at all. You think?
I don't think so. Like,
I don't think teams will be, willing to afford it, right?
Because with that being said, if they're not doubling us, we should be a lot better. You know what I mean? Like, what stopped us in Atlanta series? I mean, that's what we addressed. So I think they're gonna have to adjust somewhere.
Right.
And if they're leaving somebody open, it's gonna be RJ. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they. I think they have to double. I think Kemba's gonna demand double teams at points. I think Randle's still gonna demand double teams at points. But otherwise, these guys are liable to go off.
But this is the thing. I think you just take your chances, because I think with double teams, basically you're giving somebody a free shot, and you're banking on the fact that they have a weak link in that starting lineup that can't shoot. We're gonna leave that guy open. You're banking on it. With at least if you're not doubling, you're banking on that your guy is going to be able to at least keep this guy in front of him, make him shoot over the top, maybe fan or funnel him into a certain, area of the court. And it's kind of hard to trap guards, like I don't, you think Kimber's going to command that much attention where they're going to be trapping him like in the top, like as he bringing the ball down? I don't know.
Not off jump, but just like Andy said, Fournier is liable to have 3 30-point games in a row. I think Kemba is as well. You could get it from a lot of different positions. Pause. On his team. So, I mean, I think, I mean, if teams aren't doubling us, and we take the jump offensively that I expect we can with the tweaks we made to the roster. I think we could jump to definitely top 10 in the league offensively, but maybe even higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has to come together for the Knicks. If everything comes together for the Knicks, I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the Eastern Conference Finals, but everything has to come together. Chemistry has to come together, and 2 players, in my opinion, have to take huge leaps. And that would be Mitchell Robinson, where if he's just a demon on the defensive end, that helps the Knicks a lot. And Kemba Walker. Kemba doesn't have to be Kemba of Charlotte, but he can't be the Kemba of Boston, right? So if Kemba, if now Tibbs said he's playing in back-to-backs. Now I'm hoping that Tibbs had some medical information when he said that, and he wasn't just spouting off at the mouth. But if Kemba is playing back-to-backs, if Kemba doesn't have a minute restriction, or we just choose to play him 28 minutes, let Rose get the other 20 minutes or so, and he's Kemba, that changes everything for the Knicks. That changes everything for the Knicks. And I think when we talk about the Knicks, we talk about it as if we know Kemba is going to be that guy. We don't know that yet. So that's why I'm kind of have a little pause in terms of where the Knicks can go. But if he is that, then the ceiling for the Knicks is pretty high.
I agree. You scared me for a second. Because when you said Kemba of Boston, you were only referring to injuries, right? I gotta remember. You said that before.
Kemba of injuries.
I'm only ever talking about injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, because I love him. But
yeah, I mean, because I'm like, even if we get the Boston numbers, you know what I mean, which weren't as high as Charlotte, I think that's a success. I mean, I agree.
Oh yeah, no doubt the Boston numbers, but which number we talking about? The statistical numbers or the 42 games?
Not the game. Listen, I don't even care if it's 40. I mean, 42 is low, but I don't care if he misses games for load management. Is low. I rather them be for for prevention than for actual injury. You know what I mean? So that is a concern of mine. But I'm not really concerned with minutes, because I think with DRose there, the minutes will get at the very least split evenly. You know what I mean? And even 24 minutes, that don't sound like a lot, a strain. You know what I mean?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
We talk a lot about Kemba, I think we really sleeping on Fournier. I think we're really sleeping on this guy. I think that Kimba comes with some question marks, and I know in everybody's head, this is cardiac Kimba, this is Charlotte Kimba. We gotta wait and see. But Fournier, we already know. I'm really high on this guy. I really like him. I think he's a willing defender. He may not be a great defender. I shouldn't say a great defender. He's a good position defender. He works hard to keep his guy in front of him. He's not a turnstile. Whatever. If he gets beat, it's not going to be because of lack of effort. It's just going to be because the guy was quicker than him, and that happens all over the league, right? This is a guy. I listened to the entire interview he did on Knicks fan TV.
I'm just joking.
This is a New York. I know, but you got to try to give credit where credit is due.
I'm just joking. Shout out to Knicks fan TV. Salute, guys.
He's a New York kind of guy. He's a New York kind of guy. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy. He talked about when he played with Clifford, he liked Clifford's style. He liked that he held them accountable, that they knew what they were doing. And he's looking forward of more of the same from Tibbs. And that's what got them into the playoffs that year, that type of coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be our second leading scorer. He can score on all three levels, 55% from the corner three. And if you rush out on him, he's not going to be like Bullock, who I loved. I loved Bullock, who's just going to pass it out. He could fake and dribble in and take a mid-range or pass it to somebody. So,
dunk it, Steph.
Or dunk it.
I think
Right.
he's going to be one of those guys that 100% benefit from the market they're playing in. And I don't mean that as a slight to him. I think eyes are going to be open because he's been doing this stuff. You know what I mean? He's been, been leading. He's led his team to the playoffs. That's why, last episode I did with you guys, I was really like, it was a legit question as far as who's going to be the leader of this team. And you know what I mean? Like, or even like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the leading scorer. And I say that because I think Randle's numbers are going to drop.
Yes,
so for him to remain the leader of the team, it's not gonna have to be in an offensive role. You know what I mean? It's not gonna have to be as the go-to guy role. Like, and I'm saying that without it being a knock.
Mm-hmm.
Less pressure is on you. Take advantage of that. Exert the same amount of energy, but move it into different areas of the game.
Right.
That's the best way for us to, and that goes for really everybody. Because if you're looking at all the guys on our team, Fournier would be considered the scorer who can create. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Kemba's more of a facilitator who can score.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that he can score at an elite level. You know what I mean? So, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Fournier is our leading scorer. And
a leader in the locker room too. And a leader in the locker room too. I mean, look at the position that he played on the French team, and by that I mean the leadership position. You don't just lose that. Like, you bring that with you no matter where you go. Now, one of the things he did say is, like, he watches and sees and he picks his spots because people may not be open to him. He was talking about rookies, but I would think he'll probably do the same thing. I don't think this is a new team. They don't know him that well. I don't think he's going to come in trying to command the locker room. But over time, I could definitely see him earning that respect and doing that. Him, Rose, and Taj, I really think are going to command that that locker room.
Good points, Andy. I'm going to get right to you, but this is directed right to you. Because shout out to Knicks Fan TV. I watched that interview as well. One of the things that stood out, and I wanted to get your take on it, Andy, was because you had some concerns about him. Earlier you had mentioned his how vocal he can be, and things of that nature, how it would be taken from other guys on the team. But one of the things he said in that interview was he doesn't speak much, but when he speaks, it's always with purpose. You know what I mean? So if he feels that need to speak, it's because he's adamant about what he's saying. You know what I mean? So whether it be a mistake that he's calling out, that means it was an important moment
Right.
for him or for the game. Or so I just wanted to get your take on the. I mean, you could talk about the whole interview if you like, but what was your take on that particular statement in regards to your concerns earlier?
Yeah, Tony. I knew that before. I know that he's on the leadership standpoint, he's one of those leaders that no BS. He goes straight up to you, tells you, listen, that was wrong, that was bad, you should have done this. And some guys are cool with it because they understand, and that goes to younger guys. Like, listen, okay,
Hmm.
he's more experienced. I realize that he said what he saw, and he probably is right because he's more experienced. He was in the playoffs, he was
Right.
with this kind of team, that kind of basketball stage and stuff like that. No, another thing is, if he's trying to do that to maybe not vets, because maybe he's like the third, fourth, older guy. So I don't think he's going to be going to DRose and saying, listen, DRose, you got to pass off the ball to me because,
Hmm.
I had a better shot, or to Taj, right? That's not going to be happening. So basically, everyone on the team is going to be younger than him. I didn't mention Kemba because I don't think those guys are going to have any kind of rifts coming, to the Knicks as both new guys and stuff. So I don't think that's going to be any kind of problem. But for me, what's maybe not most worrying, but what I'm going to be looking forward to is that leadership position between him and Randle. How is that gonna mesh out if he's gonna be taking a backseat at the beginning and then trying to come in, step in at certain times, or like Steph said, maybe I don't think it's gonna happen, but maybe some guys are just gonna step in day one at the training facility and be like, listen, you know we got to do it like this or like that, or like whatever, right? So I'm thinking that's not going to be the case, and I think everything is going to be falling in perfectly, and nobody's going to get offended, or any kind of bad chemistry, bad things going to happen in the locker room. But there were some concerns on French national team, but that was mainly because those guys like Huerter, he was playing in Barcelona as one of the starters. Nando De Colo, he was playing CSKA Moscow and in the Israeli league as one of those top guys in the top teams, right? So even Fournier came from the NBA. That didn't mean much for those guys. They were like, listen, we're on the French team. You're doing your stuff in the NBA. This is the national stage. We do it as a team and whatever. So they didn't appreciate it that much. But those guys were playing with him also for several years, and they might have think that he crossed the line because they're not like younger than him and stuff like that. And they play the FIBA rules all the time, the whole year, right?
Right.
So that's why they might have got that feeling that he just couldn't do it another way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to be the case on the Knicks, and I hope it's not going to be the case.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, child brought up a good topic that actually was on the list as well. I'll bring it back up. We need to secure Mitchell's contract, or we're gonna regret it. And I see you agreed with him, Queen. But if you want to elaborate before I think we touched on this on Sim show as well. But
Right.
Andy, if you want to speak on it again.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, extending Mitch for a fair price, and it's not only for Mitch, it's for every basically basketball player. If it's a fair price for the team,
Hmm.
the team is going to try to pull it their way, right? And for this current Knicks regime and the team, I think, like we said on Sims channel, they got everybody basically locked up for at least 2 or 3 years from
Mm-hmm.
now. So only question mark is basically Vildoza and Mitch, which Vildoza isn't a big player, in any kind of meaning. I mean,
Right.
rotation minutes or whatever. So I think settling the situation with Mitch's contract is gonna put basically any kind of concern
Questions.
in the locker room for Mitch. And for me, if I'm the Knicks, I'm looking for a contract extension for Mitch, probably 3 years, 4 years, for about 8 to 10 million. If
Mm.
I'm Mitch, I'm looking for way more than that.
Right,
But
right,
I
right,
think
right.
they're probably gonna meet halfway, and contract, like Tony said, around 12, maybe 14 million a year, but with a player option and a team option. And and like the first year is gonna be guaranteed, the second year is gonna be a player option, the third year is gonna be a team option. So everybody has their hooks in the contract and might pan him out. I think if the Knicks offered him, like Sim said, 44 million, but 33 through 3 years is going to be guaranteed, and only the fourth year is going to be not guaranteed. I think Mitch might bite on that. I understand that he might be thinking he's worth more, but in his situation and his health in the past, I think 33 million through 3 years, I think it's still a fair price that both sides could bite on. 12 million could be good as well. But then again, I think the Knicks brass are going to be thinking that they got to see if he's healthy enough to give him that kind of an extension. Like always, they want to be flexible with it.
Hmm.
And if he's going to be, god forbid, hurt, I don't think there's going to be even a possibility to trade that 12 million a year contract to someone else.
Queen.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of moving parts here with the Mitch contract. I agree with Andy. I mean, if we could get Mitch for 8 to 10, I might give him 5 years.
Exactly.
I think it's gonna take um I think it's gonna take more than that. I would give him between 12, 13. This is the thing. I think the Knicks have some leverage in that they've signed Noel to um, a 3 year,
3 years
$10 million
basically. Yeah.
contract, right? So now you're going into negotiations with two things. One, we got a center that played the majority of last season in your stead, and we made the fourth seed. It wasn't totally because of him, but we didn't collapse because you were out, and we have him now for 3 years. So if we have to, we can do that again, right? So I think they have that going in their favor. I think also the fact that he's been injured from day one. I think 61 games, 66 games, 32 games. Even if you're worth an $18 million contract, we can't justify that given how many
Hmm.
games you've played for us over the first 3 years,
Hmm.
right? And we're not even getting into the fact that he needs to grow. I mean, what he did the first year, block a shot, run down, get an alley oop. He was only playing like 15 minutes a game. He had the
Hmm.
energy and the stamina to do that because he wasn't on the court that long. Last year was the first time we seen him when he did play, not go after everything, play a bit more disciplined,
Hmm.
play within the frame of the defense. And what did we get? Under 10 points, under 10 rebounds, and about a block and a half a game, right? So I know in our head, we're thinking about Mitch doing all of these things he was doing in the first season, but I think last year is pretty much Mitch for now. He could get
Mm.
better for now. The third thing or fourth thing, I'm not sure where I am right now. He's not a very good defensive rebounder, right? He's like 7 rebounds a game, and maybe 2 or 3 of them are offensive rebounds. He's not a good defensive rebounder. So when you look at Gobert, Capella, Allen, these guys, you look at their stats, there's games, 12 rebounds, 14, 17, 20 rebound games, where it looks like even though they may have only had 8 or 10 points, they're dominating in terms of defensive rebounding, in terms of block shots. They're just changing the whole complexion of the game. Mitch is not there yet consistently. He does do it from time to time. That's the growth we need to see. Listen, we got tough perimeter defense. when you get in here, I'm going to contest your shot, even if I don't block it. And then if you happen to get a shot off, you better make it because there's not going to be any offensive rebounds. And I don't think he's there yet. I think his defensive rebound needs to get better. So I'm comfortable 12 to 14 million. I'm with Andy. The longer we can get him for within that range, the better it's going to be for us as far as the salary cap. If it's something short, we might have to pay him a little more. Like if it's like a 2-year contract, you might have to go 25. You might have to go 28
Nah,
if it's going to be short.
I don't think he gets anywhere near 25 on the open market right now. You know what I mean? So that, you know what I mean? That being said, it would all depend on what he did this year, and that would be us not extending him. You know what I
But we're
mean? But
extending him before we even see him because we're talking about
no,
extending
no.
him early.
Now, yeah, because
Right,
that's our only option. It's now or
right,
he's a free agent.
right.
It's before the season or he's a free agent.
Okay.
I don't think
Oh,
there's an
wow.
option. I don't think there's
Okay.
an option of extending him once the season begins. It's
Okay.
no,
I
and
wasn't
and
aware of
and,
that.
and that's why I'm of the lock him up now, even if it costs you 15, even if it costs you, you know what I mean. That would be my starting point. You know what I mean. Somewhere
Nah, 15 is kind of
I
high.
wouldn't even lowball him with anything under 12. You know what I mean. I
But
wouldn't
why
even
is
do
that a
that.
low ball for somebody who hasn't been injured? And we're talking about potential. We're not talking about what he's actually done. We're talking about what he could
That
potentially do and
yeah,
potentially become.
I agree that that is what we're doing, but we're also like the risk is worth the reward to me, especially with the team option, with the player
Mhm.
option, after the first year, and then the team option after that. Because if he feels he's worth anywhere in that 25 range, play a year for you know what I mean, for 15, and then you opt out. You know what I mean. So that's where it's a win for him, and you know, I think he's going to be worth that money. He was well on his
Going
way
to
to.
be.
He was on his way prior to the injury to averaging a double double. And who knows where it would have ended up. But he was on that track record of 10-10 the last 10 games prior to him breaking his wrist or hand, whatever he broke. So his trajectory was up. And I think like look at what we've done this off season. We're rewarding the success of the guys who helped us get where we were. I think this
But did Mitch help us get there? He played 32 games.
absolutely he did. I got to get my door. Excuse me 1 second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remind me exactly where I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
though.
Okay, I will.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
can
just gonna I'm just gonna pop in here
Mhm.
and since Tony's gonna be gone for a minute,
Yeah,
the thing that Mitch has over Netherlands is that his agent is not Rich Paul. He's not gonna promise him,
right,
millions
right,
of
right,
bucks and not gonna get him that. So,
right, right, right.
that's a huge thing that he's, thing. But listen, for me, it's like we said before that I think Mitch's situation with this rest of the lineup,
Right,
if he's penciled in a starter, he doesn't have to, show his offensive game. He's gonna be cool with
right,
the
right.
defensive things that he has to do, right? So that would be major for him. Just being in that lineup, the Knicks succeeding, he's being there with those guys with major minutes. And I think, for Mitch, his goal of the season, I don't think he should be looking for, making jumpers or 3 pointers or whatever.
No,
For
no, no.
him to be, his goal for the season should be establishing himself as the starting center for the Knicks. Just beating out Netherlands Noel out of that starting job. So it's not even a question that, if he gets injured for like a game, 2 or 5,
Mhm.
as soon as he's healthy, he's got that starting job, locked up. It's not like, because I'm pretty sure that if, for example, Mitch was ready, like, when we were down to Atlanta, like 3-1, I don't think Tibbs would insert him in the first lineup. I think he would use him like sporadic, like situational minutes,
Yeah.
because we played so much games, without him. I think Thibs wouldn't mix it up that way.
This is what
So
I will say. If in the Tibbs and the front office mind, Mitch is not the clear-cut starter. Like, and if in their minds they don't see him as the clear-cut starter, he's not getting a $15 million contract. Like, if they're going into the season thinking we're gonna see if he beats out Noel, we're not sure. We did this with Noel. If they're not sure, they're not gonna give $15 million to somebody you're not sure about. So I think the contract that he gets, it may let us know how they what they
I
think
mean,
about him.
yeah,
I agree. If I feel like if they don't extend him, period, that's letting us know what we think about him.
Well, it depends, Crone. What if he go in there asking for 18 million because Jared Allen got 20? They may say, you know what? Let's see how you do. We're gonna take that chance.
I mean, yes, but I don't know if he's betting on himself like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't. You know what I mean? Like I don't even think he's. I don't even think he's thinking about 25 million a year. Like this is what I'm worth. Like he doesn't seem like that guy. You know what I mean? That like where I'm worth 25. This is what this guy got. I think a fair contract for him, he's accepting. And I don't. I mean, I don't want to say 15 is. I'm not going to argue whether that's too much or not enough. You know what I mean? Like that's really NBA talk, and they work out those kind of numbers. Like that's a lot of money. A million's a lot of money to me. You know, so
Right.
I can't really talk about that. But back to where I was before my door. I think he 100% helped us. You know, prior to his injury, even with his 31 games, I think those were vital 31 games. I think Noel got paid what he got paid because he was able to hold down the fort, and I'm not gonna make Mitch expendable, but there's nobody who thought we was gonna sustain the success without Mitch, with Noel, and everybody having to take a step up. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, give him anywhere like 15. I don't think that's too much. You know what I mean? We're banking on him. Worst case scenario, we put that team option after the third year. So, after the second year. So now everybody's coming off the books at the same time anyway. If we so choose, you know what I mean.
Right.
Give him that team option, that player option after his first year. So if you proved it, then we have no problem extending that you know, letting you opt out and paying you what you're worth, or you could get it somewhere else. But I think it fits into what we've done so far. Everybody's kind of locked up. We don't want to go into the season and now there's question marks. You know what I mean? If Mitch takes that step up and he's not locked up, that's going to be the question all year long. You know what I mean? We don't need any kind of distractions. So
I don't think it's going to be a distraction on this team. It might be a distraction for Mitch, and that's going to hurt him if he allows it to distract him in free agency.
But he's still young. That's a possible.
It's
you know
possible.
What I mean?
But we'll be okay. If he gets distracted and he doesn't play well and we throw Noel in there, I think we're going to be okay. But this is another thing. Do you really want $25 million back in your center position? You know, 15 for him, 10 for Noel. That's $25 million in the center position.
I never argue about money because that ain't my money.
But no. But you know what? And shout out to Eru. They said the same thing on Die Hard Knicks podcast. But it's a salary cap issue. And thank you for Andy for, you know, kind of drilling that into my head. It's not like everybody you could pay whatever you want. And we got an owner who's rich and he's a billionaire. So it's not our money. Everybody is working with the same amount of money. So if you put in 25 million in your center position, that's less money you have for another position to help your team. So I think it is. It's not
Right.
our money per se, but it does take up a percentage of our salary cap that we can use somewhere else.
At this point, if he reaches a 25 million a year salary, that's at that point it's going to be based off of what he's doing
No.
currently.
I'm saying he's 15 and Noel is 10.
Oh,
So in your that's what I'm saying. In you got 25 million
okay, but
in
all
your
right.
center position.
At this point, I would still do it because at this point, under my circumstance, it's for 2 years, right? Noel, we have an option on him after 2 seasons. We will have that same option with Mitch in my scenario. So I wouldn't have a problem with it.
If it's 2 years, I don't have a problem with it either.
And those those salaries are still movable. You know what I mean? So now when we're talking about upgrading with a trade for one of these superstars, I know that conversation has died down in recent recent days or whatever. Right. But now that's salary cap that helps match. You know what I mean? Now you're only talking about 2 or 3 guys.
If they want them though. Because a salary can look good in the beginning, but depending on how they play, now it doesn't look good. If Noel is injured and he's average, to me, I think Noel was overpaid in my opinion, but that's a story for another day. It could be hard to move him. Somebody else may say, I'm not paying $10 million for Noel. Look what he's doing this year. Sure, last year he played very well, but this year he's not playing well at all. So a contract can sour at any time depending on how a player is playing.
You think Mitch is worth more than Noel, or Noel's
worth more than Mitch? I think Mitch is worth more than Noel. So if you play Noel,
even with the injuries,
even with the injuries, but not much, not much. And I do think, I mean, if I was the Knicks, I would have tried to get Noel for $8 million. I would not, if they could have,
But Steph, they're paying Netherlands. The first year is 8.8 million.
Oh, I thought it was 10 over 30.
No,
I thought it was
but
10 over 3.
It goes up.
It's 8.8, then it's 9.09, and then it's 11 point something. So it rounds up.
Okay, so then that's fine. Okay, it rounds up to that. Okay, that's fine.
And that's kind of been the MO of everybody we brought back. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't necessarily agree with, but everybody kind of felt like we overpaid to bring everybody back. So that being the MO of what's gone on, I could definitely see them giving Mitch that 3-year 45 extension and player option 2nd year, team option 3rd year, and to me personally, I don't think it's that. I don't think it hinders us. I think Noel is still a movable contract with the team option after the 2 years. I think Mitch would be the same type of movable contract. Especially when you're talking about including, you know what I mean? Like I understand people are not going to may not want either one of them, but if the trade is being done, they're going to have to take money back to make it match. So they're going to have to figure out which one they want or you know what I mean? Otherwise the trade is not going to happen at all. So you know what I mean? If we're in that position, I think it's not necessarily going to be about, oh, I want this guy. They're going to get a choice of one player. They're going to have to get other guys to match up. They're going to have to take, you know what I mean? It's never like, oh, I got exactly what I wanted in this trade. You know what I mean? It's always, you always got to take some and lose some. So I think it's fair game. And I think it happens. And if it doesn't happen, I don't think Mitch is here long term, to be honest. I don't want to compete against anybody for him. I'd rather just lock him up, you know what I mean? Do what it takes, make it fair for us, make it fair for him. And we could, then there's no distraction. Because even if the team is not distracted, if he's distracted about the situation, it hinders the team. You know what I mean? Like, do you really want to go into a situation where, yeah, we have no else to rely on, but I want them both. You know what I mean? I want to rely on both of these guys. I don't want to be like,
I don't think he's going to be distracted because if they don't sign him, now he's playing for his contract, whether it's from the Knicks or whether it's from another team. Right? So if he doesn't play well, I don't think he's, it could impact how much money he gets in the open market when he does become a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, and that's more reason to sign up now for him. You know what I mean, and for us. So I mean, I don't think money's a factor. I don't think he's asking or looking for 25. I don't know if 11 does it, but I think anywhere
We can
from
get 11.
I think anywhere from 12 to 15. You know what I mean? He's taking it. And we can figure out the options as far as player and team to make everybody happy. But I do that in a heartbeat. Um, Last thing I want to touch on quickly was and again I think you guys spoke about it on Sim's channel, Andy, Noel suing Rich Paul and others, and I don't know how much you know about the situation and stuff, but I'm definitely interested in your take. And
I heard it, but why is he lost out on the money? Why? There was a contract on the table that they didn't tell him about?
no, well, I mean, all right. From my understanding, oh, Andy, you go ahead and give the rundown because I know you probably had it straight from the
Yeah, you know, like Tony said, from my understanding,
Mhm.
yeah, the situation was that there were better contracts on the table, but Rich Paul told Netherlands that he's $100 million player. He just needs to sign with him and leave. Then that was Happy Walters, right?
hmm
So he signed with Rich Paul, and then Rich Paul got him, I don't know, a 5 point something million contract. And it's not saying like it's the 5.6 is instead of $100 million contract, but what seems to be coming out at these days is that Rich Paul was getting calls or wasn't returning calls from the
other
Sixers,
team.
the Mavericks, and other teams.
Mm.
So
The Clippers
Netherlands,
and
yeah,
Houston as well.
exactly. So and Netherlands is thinking that maybe that he didn't did his job, and if that's the case, and he has
Mhm.
proof that the management of those teams are going to just come out and to the court and say, listen, we were calling the guy, but he didn't return the calls. That
Mhm.
that was really not in favor of the situation,
Right.
the end game money situation for Netherlands, right?
Right.
Then again, we already heard fans back in the day saying that Rich Paul is doing everything to protect LeBron from having good guys on the West Coast, just do whatever it takes to send them into the East Coast, right?
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah,
I
so
mean, not necessarily the West Coast, East Coast, but definitely keeping players from
yeah,
direct contenders. So no,
Wow.
I'm not gonna
exactly,
let this guy go to the Clippers or
yeah.
Houston at the time. You know what I mean? No, knowing
Wow.
Yeah,
knowing how
so
much
that's the situation. And for me, no, still, if I was Netherlands, when I saw, if I would see the contract, right, I would make the decision then. So I'm not gonna do anything, like fire my agent because someone else just told me that he
Mhm.
has something, right?
Mhm.
If he showed me that he has it, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the move. But he said that. I'm not going around promises when it comes to 50 or 70 million dollars, right?
Mhm.
If it's like a meal in the restaurant, then I'm cool about that. But if it's 50, 70 million dollars, that's a thing that you don't go around just by he said, she said, right?
Right. Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
and just to interject real quick, it's not necessarily about him. Well, first off, somebody said Happy Walters is his agent. Happy Walters was his agent on the Mavericks when he had the opportunity to sign for 80 million. He
exactly.
he fired Happy and signed with Rich Paul, who then had to sign a 1 year deal, obviously approve it, a betting on myself deal, and was supposed to be getting the 100 million in the future under Rich Paul. Which he was injured that year. Obviously, that brought his value down. Blah 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 blah. for him to prove and win this case, he's gonna need these other teams to go on record and say and prove that they reached out to Rich Paul and
Hmm.
had offers. Because if then it's negligence, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you're not returning these phone calls, so that I think that's where his case has the most.
Validity.
Like,
That's
Right.
yeah,
for him to be able to prove it. He's gonna
Right.
have to have guys that's willing to come out on record and say, and maybe have to prove it with phone records. Hey, I was reaching out to Rich Paul because I had this deal on the table, or wanted to negotiate, even just the fact of wanting to negotiate. If you don't relay that to your client and you don't pursue it in your own, you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
workings, I think then you can get to that negligence.
And
But
if there were
for
texts too,
yeah,
if they
but
were.
getting him to leave his agent and not sign for 80,
Hmm.
you know what I mean, like he has no case in that because those were your own personal decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and he wasn't your agent at that particular
Right.
moment. But when he
Right.
became your agent, if he didn't relay messages to you about this
Right.
team is reaching out, that team is reaching out, this team is reaching out, then yes, that's negligent. I don't know how he puts a dollar amount on it unless those teams again are willing to go on
yeah,
record
to
and
bring up the
say,
numbers that they were offering, like, 70 couple, and I took the 20 couple, $1 million offer because I was thinking that's the most I have. So
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, he's suing Rich Paul. Any thoughts on that? And
Good
does
luck
it
with
make
it.
does it make you feel any different about Mitch firing him? And you know what I mean? Like I never had an issue with Mitch going through agents. I just thought, hey, it's a learning experience. I've never been in that situation, but I know if things aren't right, I'm gonna be quick to fire people too. You know what I mean? And without me knowing the details, I try not to you know judge a
Tony,
guy on it. What's that?
it's like I said, bro. I don't think Mitch is gonna be listening to advice from Netherlands about the contract. So
Well, not about turning down money, but
yeah,
if
exactly.
if he's telling him, yo, you better take that money now because you never know what's gonna happen, he may take that advice. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's to me, that's the right thing. Hey, I turned this money down. The next year I broke my thumb. That lost me. That
Let me
lost.
tell
You know
you,
what I mean?
with
Lost me a
Mitch
lot of
injury
money.
history,
Yeah.
he better
Yeah.
take whatever the Knicks offer with his injury history. I mean, yeah, who knows? We'll see. I hope they do it before the season. I, for one, think Mitch is better than Noel. Um, and I would like to see, him develop on the team for the right price. As Andy taught me, it all goes down to how much money he's gonna take up. You know,
Yeah, and for Tony, for me, it was from years, from whenever I started to play these managing games with salary cap. Tony, it always goes. Listen, I love, for example, Mitch for 8 million. I'm gonna hate him if he's gonna be getting 20, and that's for, if you think about it, for every player.
every player.
It's like,
I get
listen, you take
that.
Jared Jeffries for 1.4 million, right? But you're not happy with him for 11 million a year. So
Right.
listen,
No, I
that
agree
was the
with that.
easiest.
But I also feel like if a player earned it and proved it, you know what I mean? Like if we championship contenders, I don't care if everybody on the team is making 20 million. You know what I mean? Like as long as it's legal and within the parameters, go over the cap. You know what I mean? Like play that luxury tax. There's rules in place, and if you do it right,
Yeah.
you can be in that situation. And,
Right.
and,
But you
and
got to
as
have the
long as
right
you
team. I'm
no
not going
no
over
of
the
course.
luxury tax for a team that I don't think is a contender. But
Oh
yeah,
no
if the
no
team is contending, yeah,
yeah. and,
yeah,
and some, sometimes you do that and you're in contention, and then the injuries happen. You know what I mean? Like then what do you do? Then you
yeah.
gotta just wait it out.
Yeah, but
But
listen, guys. The basic rule of building a team that you would love to have and keep above the salary cap situation is, the longer the player you have on the squad, the more options the team has to extend them. If you have him more than 3 years, you got the bird rights for him, so you can go more over the cap to sign him,
Hmm.
or just sign everyone else and then go over the cap.
And that's
Not
Right.
what I
saying
mean.
that you can give him more years on the contract, more money on the contract extension.
Right.
So it would be perfect for us, as a franchise, to start extending these rookies. So that's why, that just shortly, that's why the situation in Philadelphia didn't pan out with all those picks, because they were choosing guys but didn't keep them because they didn't feel that those guys are worthy to keep for the next, not only 3 or 2, 4 years, for like year 6, year 8, when they are supposed to be getting those extensions and around those 20 millions contracts, right?
Right.
So listen, they had rookie of the year Michael Colin Williams, and they traded him. They had Nerlens Noel, number 3 pick, or he was really a 4, maybe 4 or 3 pick. I don't remember, but he was really high.
Hmm.
And they decided only to pick, to stay Simmons and Embiid. And they're
Hmm.
looking to, they have a problem with Simmons now.
Right.
So, it's so many variables, that you have to think about. And this tanking thing, if it was like you tank 5 years and you got the 5 years, the first pick, and you're picking only 5 guys, like, okay, I got a point guard, I got a center, I got only 3 wing positions to fill in. I'm going to draft this year this guy, this year that guy, and I'm going to sell these guys on staying with the franchise for the next 15 years.
Hmm.
Then you got such a great core around that, and you got to cut out the injuries, cut out the he found a girl in California,
Hmm.
Jenner girl that he's going to move out for
Hmm.
and it's so many things that but if you have those guys longer, you have more financial flexibility of going over the cap to keep those guys in place.
Right.
So
And another thing, doing it that way, even if you get the top 5 picks the 5 years in a row, you know what I mean. You talking about, in my opinion, it takes 5 years for guys to get to you know what I mean, who they gonna be anyway. At least a
yeah,
inkling of it. So you know what I mean. Trusting that process. It wasn't just a 5 year process, because now for that that last guy you just drafted, for him to be at his peak or close to it, is gonna take him another 5. So
yeah,
that trust the
and that
process
first
thing
dude is
is
gonna
a
get
10 year
25 million
process.
that year.
It's a 10 year
Right. Right.
process.
So
Right. Right.
you got to be basically choosing without mistakes, and that's really hard to do.
Right.
Would be the perfect situation, like in a video game situation, would be like, okay, I got top 10 picks on this draft, and this draft class is like perfect, and I get them like 10 contracts, each get around 9, 7, 6, whatever million, and you have like 40 million to fill out with vets.
Hmm.
But that's never going to happen. I don't see even the NBA allowing a team to have like 10 picks in the first round. Knicks are trying to do that, but I don't see that happening.
Right. Right.
OKC might get there.
Yeah, OKC might be
They,
before us
they
with
they
that.
they might be able to draft a whole college squad one year. Like, oh,
Yeah,
who won the national championship? We want that whole team.
yeah, with the
I mean,
coach,
With
and
the
stuff.
coach.
let them continue to grow together. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys coming on. Shout out to the chat as always. Yo, Black, it's time. I might be back in a few hours with a regular podcast episode. I hope you guys tune in. Queen, thank you for coming on. Andy, as
Appreciate you.
always, thank you for coming on. Last words, if you like.
If everything breaks right for the Knicks, they can go far. But a lot has to break right. They got one of the deepest teams. I haven't looked at the Western Conference rosters yet, but one of the deepest teams on the East Coast. So if things break right, the Knicks can do very, very well this season.
I
yeah.
agree.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. And it was a pleasure to be, with you guys on the cast. So
Of course.
whenever I'm available, I'm happy to join in and hop on.
I wish I was
Appreciate
going early so you could be on my show one day, Andy.
appreciate it. What you gotta do? You just gotta do an Andy special.
I'll do an Andy special.
Do
Yeah.
an Andy special.
Nah,
You know what I mean?
Steph, I'm gonna be on, probably Fridays and Saturdays when the season starts. I'm gonna be available, like later on. So
Okay.
maybe then we can hook up some
Okay.
do episodes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Nice. My last words, man. Sign up Mitch. Sign Mitch up. Lock him up. Let's get that question mark out the way. He can feel like I'm definitely part of the family. You know what I mean? I'm part of the team. Everybody, we're gonna be here at least 2 years, and I think that eases the mind to know that, hey, I'm gonna be here for 2 years. Like let's put our all in this 2 years and try to do something special, and then worry about the next extension. But that's my last words. Shout out to the chat as always. Your blackest time.
Peace.
Peace.